So, hello and welcome to anyone who might be lurking in the chat. Oh, yay!
We have a Santa!
And of course, a special thanks to my patrons, Santi the Sane, GeoSam, Julie LaVoice, and Rain.
Oh, you're picking up on the patrons. That's good to see.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
we're at the same now. I've lost a couple, so
yeah. So today, because it's Easter, though not really. So not really because it's Easter, but because everyone voted on what order we do these in.
Happy accident.
But it happens to line up with the fact that we are discussing a rock opera about a man wrestling with his mortality versus his impact on the world and ultimately deciding on the right decision. No, we are not talking about Hero again. We're actually talking about Beethoven's Last Night.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're not talking about Jesus either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, two things.
Yes.
Two things straight off. One, you're in trouble. And you're in trouble for two reasons, which is the second thing. First of all, how very dare you keep this from me? This masterpiece, this wonderful, amazing. I'm going to go all Italian and talk about how amazing and beautiful it is. Also, how dare you? You sent me on a field trip and didn't give me any warning.
Okay. I'm gonna say. So I mean, unfortunately, I wasn't very well when you did the 2112 stream, so I missed that. It is, but I gotta say, of all the rock operas we've covered so far, I like the fact this one had, for starters, had a coherent plot. Very much unlike Tommy. And this was just good all the way through to me. And the way it took you up and took you down, and then blended elements of real hard rock in with classical music, with not just Beethoven, but there's some little bits of Mozart and stuff in there thrown in as well. With a kind of as Noodle and I will probably get into discussion about this, but it almost feels like that Jim Steinman might have written this or something.
Definitely Jim Steinman. Classic rock, and I can definitely. I think the ultimate version of this album. I mean, all power to the singers in it. They are utterly amazing.
Yeah.
But if you were going to say of famous names, who would I want singing this album? We were just saying it would be Meatloaf, Bonnie Tyler, and Lemmy.
Yeah.
Which says a lot for the power of the track and the power of the voices that are already on it, that they're reminiscent of those names.
Yeah.
I am going to spend a lot of time fangirling about the power of that girl's voice.
Yeah.
I don't know who she is, but her voice is powerful, and we need to bottle that shit because we could bring world peace with it.
So, here's a brief overview of the plot. And see, because I have it on CD, I actually have the liner notes. And the thing that Trans-Siberian Orchestra does, because they do a lot of rock opera type stuff, is they put like the extra narrative in the liner notes.
Mm-hmm.
So, quick basic overview of the plot is it opens on, the night Beethoven is going to die. And Beethoven has finished writing a fictional 10th symphony. And our principal players in this are Beethoven, Fate's son, Twist.
I love that. That was a great little
and Mephistopheles.
Yeah.
So Fate or Twist amongst the various shades that were cast by the life of Beethoven are gathering around on the night of his death. And Mephistopheles shows up and says, okay, I have your soul. You could give me all of your music and let me erase it from history, or I can take you to hell. And Beethoven wrestles with this question, but ultimately decides no. And so Mephistopheles says, okay, give me your 10th symphony, which no one's heard yet, so it's no loss to the world. Or and I'll lay away my claim on your soul. And that kind of, and Mephistopheles gives him an hour to mull it over. And then we get into the second act of the rock opera, where Beethoven and Fate are going over Beethoven's life, because Fate offers this, like, if you really want to change anything in your life, I'll give you, I'll change it for you, but it would, but you'd have to accept the consequences of that change.
Yeah.
And so they go through various moments of his life, and he finally decides that no, he doesn't want anything in his life changed.
Just to interrupt here, he decides he doesn't want anything in his life changed because everything that happened in his life had an impact on his music.
Yes.
It's very important to his characterization.
Yes.
He is willing to go through what was a pretty horrendous life for his music.
Yeah.
And not change anything, and potentially he's facing hell, literally hell, like Dante's Inferno, hell for eternity for his music. And that just shows the value he places on it.
And
carry on.
And so Mephistopheles, returns, and he decides no, he can't give the 10th symphony to Mephistopheles because it is an expression of him. And so Mephistopheles decides, okay, see, there's this kid. You see that kid outside across the street. I also have a claim to her. If you give me your soul, I will renounce my or if you give me the 10th symphony, I will renounce my claim on her and ease her suffering. And Beethoven almost says no. But then he decides no, he decides to, yes, he'll sign over his 10th symphony. But he can't bear to do it himself. So Fate writes out the contract that the 10th symphony of Ludwig
van Beethoven, first son of Anna, and is it Anna? What were his parents' names? Johann and Maria.
Johann and Maria.
And then, the contract's signed. Devil tries to destroy the symphony, but he can't, because Ludwig wasn't the firstborn son.
No, there was a Ludwig van Beethoven before who didn't make it to adulthood.
Yes.
Which we know historically. And so he worms his way out of the contract on a technicality.
Twist and Fate worm Beethoven out of the contract, and Beethoven's, well, okay, what about my soul? Twist replies, the devil lies. And then Fate sings him into the afterlife. And that's the overview of the plot of the opera.
It is almost messianic, isn't it? It's the temptation. It's the wandering through the desert.
Yeah.
It's the almost falling to the temptation, but then making the sacrifice for the innocent.
Yeah.
And then the final just reward for doing
But
so.
then there's also I found elements of, say, Dickens' Christmas Carol in this as well with the plot of this.
Yeah, I mean, for me,
it's very got a like time travel a la the Spirits aspect to it.
I think I messaged you, Jeff, and I said this whole plot feels like Charles Dickens and Marlowe sat down in a room together.
I mean, this makes it possibly the arguably the second best piece of media involving Beethoven and time travel in existence.
The other one being that episode of Doctor Who.
No, the other one being Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Nah, fair.
Yeah. I think you're thinking of Vincent and the Doctor.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I may have been, to be fair. I've only heard of it in passing.
Yeah.
What's the thing of as they say, what's it in Bill and Ted's Beethoven, Beethoven's favorite pieces of music include, Mozart's Marriage of Figaro, Bach songs, and Bon Jovi's Slippery When Wet.
So, it's I did make the Passion of the Christ joke at the beginning, but this is very much, this is the Passion of the Christ done better than the Passion of the Christ.
Yeah. I think as well with, there was a comment I wanted to make. Let me have a look. Because I know I said it to you, Jeff. So this idea of Christmas Carol and Faustus, the reason it works in this plot is because those themes are universal. It's the same reason this plot works is the same reason A Christmas Carol worked and the same reason Faustus worked.
Yeah.
It's the same story. And I can see why it's got the whole Christmassy vibe on the album cover as well.
Yeah.
Can we share an image of the album cover so people can see what I'm talking about? It almost does look, doesn't it, like Dickens sat at his desk, Scrooge at his desk on Christmas Eve kind of vibe.
I saw a different cover for it, which looks a little bit more metal, but I like that cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the one the one I saw was the narrated version. I think that's why.
That'll be it. I mean, to me, I haven't heard the narrated version, but I think I would probably prefer this version, just because it doesn't need narration. It's so coherent and it's so well done.
Yeah,
the narration feels a bit surplus to requirements.
I think some of these ones we've covered on the past month could have probably benefited with a bit of narration.
Yeah,
Tommy definitely could have done.
Tommy could have benefited from a lot of things.
Yeah, but obviously, like things like Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds, the narration's a big part of that as a rock opera. I didn't feel this needed it.
Yeah.
I did not feel this really, even if you didn't pick up on everything, you kind of got the gist of what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I haven't ever heard the narrated version. I've only heard the regular version.
Yeah. I will point out as well, the way this album's put together, every character has a distinctive sound.
Yes.
Do you know how we were talking about, which one were we talking about, where I said if I had 4 parts of a thing, I'd give each one to a different singer?
Yeah, that was Tommy.
Yeah. They've done it in this and it works.
Yeah.
It so works. Like Mephistopheles is the borderline heavy metal, hard rock child catcher.
Yeah.
Beethoven is Meatloaf a la Bat Out of Hell. It's that sound.
Yeah.
Fate is Bonnie Tyler, but Bright Eyes Bonnie Tyler, not Total Eclipse Bonnie Tyler.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's not... You know what I mean.
By the way, just just quick note as I came across this. I believe the woman's name's Patti Russo, and she's best known for being Meatloaf's former lead vocalist when she taught Meatloaf.
Yeah, okay, so
that explains a lot.
That explains why I've got the Bonnie Tyler vibe, because I'm thinking of when they did like Paradise by the Dashboard Light and I Would Do Anything for Love, and it would have been her doing the female side of the track.
Well, okay, so here's the list of the lead vocals in the album. We have Jody Ashworth as Beethoven.
Yeah.
Patti Russo as Teresa, who is so a lot of the songs you're thinking of are in the flashback sequences, and they're sung by Beethoven's paramour.
Yeah.
John Oliva as Mephistopheles. Guy Lemonnier as young Beethoven. Jamie Torsellini as Twist. Sylvia Tosun as Fate. And then Zach Stevens, Dave Diamond, and Doug Toms as the Muses.
Right. I want to comment on something about that straight away.
Yeah.
The music's been male voices.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful, beautiful subversion of tradition. Traditionally, the Muses, the chorus.
Yeah.
You know, we've all seen the gospel truth in Hercules. We know what to expect. We expect, either that, which was a massive lampshade of the thing, but generally we expect sort of blonde, ethereal, like late teenage girls in white dresses humming.
Yeah.
You know, that's what you expect from the Muses and the chorus.
Yeah.
But this is just, it's fantastic the way it never occurred to me to cast males as like the Muses or the chorus, but boy, does it work.
Well, and the thing is, for the most part, Twist fills the role of the chorus in this. Yeah.
And I mean, it would have been male voices in sort of ancient Greek cinema and theatre.
So,
but in modernity, that didn't really carry over.
Yeah, but so let's go, through the plot in detail, and of course, starting with the overture.
Yeah,
fantastic. 10/10. Would listen again. Got it bookmarked on Spotify.
Yeah.
It's got aspects of every other track.
Yeah.
It introduces every character. You can pick from the overture. You don't know who you're hearing about yet, but you already know just from the overture, okay, there's an evil character, there's a good guy, there's a sort of soft mother figure type thing going on there. And because you get elements of the lullaby.
Yeah.
And then there's another character floating about who's a little bit tricksy. And you get that just from the overture.
Well, there's some, and there's obviously some elements of, the Ninth Symphony and one of Mozart's, I think it's the Fifth Requiem in this overture as well.
Yeah, you've got, there's quite a bit going on in this overture, classically wise. You've got Moonlight Sonata in there.
Yeah.
Sonata Pathétique. I think from Mozart, we've got Mozart's Requiem in there, and there's 2 different Beethoven symphonies. Don't ask me which numbers.
Yeah.
Just don't.
But that's the thing, is a lot of the backing for this track is rooted in Beethoven's music, which in music composed by Beethoven, which is what kind of puts this a step above all the other rock operas we've talked about this month.
And I've said for a long time that you listen to a lot of really, really good rock music, you can see classical influences in there.
Yeah.
And what I like this album is this illustrates that point.
Yeah.
That you kind of know, you kind of almost get this feeling today that Ludwig van Beethoven was around today, he'd be like he'd be more like mentioned in the same breath as someone like Eddie Van Halen or something. You know, you get that feeling about someone like one of these great composers of the past. And I don't know why I keep thinking that they'd probably be in metal bands today or something. You know,
I think they'd be
power metal bands.
Yeah, they'd be somewhere between classic rock and metal. They'd probably be Motorhead, Metallica, probably more Metallica, I would say, with the range Metallica's got.
I'd say more something like Nightwish or something and Van Halen. Or, you know, that
I think that Van Halen's a bit too poppy for them.
Not if you listen to not early good Van Halen.
I'm talking about early good Van Halen. Yeah. I don't listen to late Van Halen.
Well, I mean, like Women Threw Their Panties at Liszt.
Yeah, that
is you know, that is a historical fact that women threw their panties at Liszt.
Yeah. Hey, listen, don't talk to me about what fangirls have done in history. Okay. Fangirls have done some weird shit in history. They used to buy bottles of the sweat of gladiators to wear as perfume.
Yeah.
Like, these people were the rock stars of their relative ages. Like, there is no screaming over the Beatles. That's tame.
Yeah. But so we go, you know.
And if you go to my OnlyFans, you may be able to buy some of my sweat if you are a fangirl.
But anyways, so we go into Midnight, which is the introduction proper.
Yeah.
Where we have Twist introducing the plot.
Yeah. And this just felt almost, there's such a dreamlike quality to this track.
Yeah.
It did genuinely kind of feel like, I'm going to describe it as an analogy. I'm going to take you on a visual journey, and I'm going to say it's like the 17th of December. You've just finished work for the holidays. It's snowing outside and you've just got in. There's a roaring fire already going. You've got food cooking and the smells are coming through behind you. And you can smell mint and chocolate and cinnamon and all those seasonal scents. And you're just curled up in front of the fire and someone has sat down next to you and said, would you like me to read you a story?
Yeah.
It's got that traditional vibe to it. Like trapped in, you know, the outer reaches of like Canada or Alaska, Montana type thing. Nowhere to go, nowhere to be, no electronics. Let's read a story together. Let's tell a story.
And what a start to the story, because in 4 lines the entire scene is set.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And in the dark he sits alone to watch his final hours bleeding, while unconcerned upon the wall the clock it ticks away the time.
That to me is such a powerful image, this idea of time bleeding.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't want to die. He's not ready to die.
Yeah.
But instinctively you get this sense of, this is a man who has suffered. This is a man who even time bleeds for.
Yeah.
You know, you sort of... it immediately draws your sympathy to this character.
And how, like, as the overture dies out, we only get the little piano music to back the first bit of this track. You
lonely, and it's so...
You can picture the mental image of Beethoven just bent over his piano.
Almost like there's this sense of, I have to finish this because I've run out of time.
Yeah.
And it immediately, it really evokes that Dickensian, almost Christmas, ghostly, bittersweet mood. That very traditional, literary Christmas, not jolly and happy and a time of reflection and of depth, almost to a dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
And, this is the bleak midwinter. This is what we're looking at here, in the bleak midwinter.
And, speaking of a dark night of the soul, we go into Fate, where the shadows are encroaching upon Beethoven.
Yeah. And again, it's this... Do you know what vibe I get from these sort of first tracks with Beethoven?
What?
Jean Valjean in the final act of Les Mis.
Yeah.
As he's getting older and he's had enough and he's tired and all he wants is to know his daughter's okay.
Yeah.
All he wants is to finish the one thing in his life that he was ever any good at.
Yeah.
And that's what, it's like almost he's got this, this is my job, I have to do this.
Yeah.
This is
sorry guys, I had to.
Yeah.
He's very, if someone said to you, you're going to die tomorrow, you have one night to make your mark on the world forever, and then you're done. And that's what this is. It very much plays into the themes of memento mori and Stoic philosophy.
Yeah.
Of remember, tomorrow you may die. And what does Beethoven choose to do with his last night on earth? He chooses to compose.
Yeah.
And that matters because his music is his life. And we see that. We see all the things, we go on to see all the things he turns down for his music because his music is his life.
Yeah.
He's married to his music. And that's what matters to him more than anything else in the world.
And I know, and I picked up on the Les Mis thing because we are going to transfer into something that you also got Les Mis vibes from.
Yeah.
Where Beethoven decries the shadows because basically we go into a track entitled "What Good This Deafness," where Beethoven is had enough with these shadows that are gathering around him chanting about fate. When it's like, why can't why am I deaf if I have to hear this incessant noise distracting me?
Yeah, like again, nothing's more important than the music.
Yeah.
But it did give me very much, I think it was the irony of the moment of, dude, you're about to drop dead, pay attention.
Yeah.
And I don't care, I've had enough. The flippancy of it and the bitterness of him realizing this is it kind of accumulated for me and gave me serious Master of the House vibes.
Yeah. Well, so, this track, begins very serious, very dramatic. And then, after Beethoven's, sung lines, it becomes more like sinisterly, the music becomes more sinisterly whimsical.
Yeah. And it's that sinister whimsy that I was picking up on, I think.
And yeah. And Twist replies to, like, Twist replies very sarcastically back to Beethoven. It's like, do you really want to believe what you're saying?
Yeah, it's almost as if he's saying, stop being a petulant little shit and pay attention.
And the air, like the sarcastic air that the artist performing Twist puts on these lines is just beautiful.
It really is. Do you know what it is? I've just had a flash of what it is.
Yeah.
It's an 11-year-old who's just been caught sneaking out at night by another 11-year-old who's told him off, and he's gone, she needs to sort out her priorities.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's got, like, dude, sort out your priorities, you're dying.
You know, is it an extension of artistic license, a moody defiance of all of life's tyrants, while you've been searching your heart alone with us in the dark?
And now I'm going to bed before either of you come up with another brilliant excuse to get us expelled.
Yeah.
You know, it's that tone, isn't it? It's very... It's very uppity for Twist.
Yeah.
I mean, Twist has got that characterization, but it is very much saying, dude, get a grip.
Yeah. It's mockingly putting on airs to mock high art.
Yeah.
Or rather, the attitude snobs give high art.
Which kind of implicates Beethoven as a snob, but I don't think he is.
Well,
the thing with Beethoven is that he's truly gripped by his love for music.
Yeah, I more catch this as, like, I more read into this as, instead of a jab at Beethoven, it's a jab at later reception of Beethoven.
Yeah, because reception of Beethoven is very elitist.
Yeah.
Everyone knows Beethoven, everyone's heard Beethoven, but you try and get someone to talk to you about Beethoven academically, and you don't talk like you were born with a silver spoon up your ass. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Like, it is considered one of those, you know, lessons for the posh boys. The rest of us have got jobs to do.
Yeah, and that's kind of the attitude for a lot of classical music.
Yeah.
Which is stupid because the classical musicians were literally the rock stars of their day.
Yeah. I mean, literally, I was a teenager and I couldn't speak to my parents, my peers where I live, about classical music because every time I brought it up, it's, oh, stop trying to be posh, stop trying to be above your station.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I just actually like this stuff and I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But where I come from, you know, most of the people don't leave school fully literate. So to ask them to discuss Beethoven is a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
And it's that reverse snobbery that we're seeing, I think.
Yeah.
Which is kind of irritating because if you're one of those people who takes part in reverse snobbery about elitist subjects like that, classics, classical music, anything, please don't, because you're only shooting yourself in the foot, and we need more working class people to get involved in these subjects.
Well, I think in particular, this is like a sarcastic jab because as a whole, this rock opera is a love letter to classical music. But we move on as Mephistopheles enters with
Charles
the track.
Capper arrives.
Yeah, with the track Mephistopheles.
He's a classic cartoon villain. I love it.
Yeah.
You know, he is not gonna have a emotional breakdown in Act 3, wondering if he's been doing the right thing or not. You know, he's just pure evil.
Like Mephistopheles is a classic Disney villain song set to Beethoven music.
Yes. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. And what's funny, what's extra funny about this is if you sing the chorus in a different key,
it utterly alters the way it sounds.
Well, yeah, if you sing the chorus in a different key, it sounds like a Christian worship song.
Yes. I picked up on that. I was like, hang on. Why is this making me feel churchy?
Yeah. because the chorus goes, see it rising, stare in wonder, hear it beckon you to dance, feel it hold you, take you under, I'm your god of second chance.
And to me, that's just fantastic. I would worship that guy, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, absolutely. Take my soul and just let me dance.
Yeah.
It's just he's just such an awesome character. I love it. He's very. It's nice to just have a genuine baddie that I can just like.
Yeah.
He is literally the devil. Obviously, that's the point. But we're going to go into my fandom obsessions for a second. So please hold. Hannibal, the TV show.
Yeah.
The actor who plays him, Mads Mikkelsen, when he was first introduced to the character, started saying the same thing about this character in all of his interviews about him, and still does when he talks about it. He says, this man is the devil. He's the happiest man alive. Yeah. And he's not evil. He's the happiest man alive. He just finds beauty in things we don't.
Yeah.
And it's that vibe with Matt. He's just like, you can see him like bouncy and happy and waving around with his contract and coming home and kissing his wife and telling her, honey, I had a lovely day at work. I collected 5 souls and a dog. You know, that's he's I don't know where the dog came from. Please don't collect dogs, Mephistopheles.
I mean, the dog does have 3 heads.
Yeah, and I petted a dog and it had 3 heads and it was fluffy. Like that's Mephistopheles is like he's so evil he's almost wholesome. It's just fantastic. I can't. It's like if you wrote a musical of an ancient Greek myth and made Hades your leading lady. Like it's like the whole love story between Hades and Persephone, and you know it's just wholesome. It's just I want to pet the devil.
Something you never hear, like something you never expected to hear on Easter. I want to pet the devil.
The devil is a puppy and I want to pet him. I gave myself about the giggles looking at your facial expression.
But it's very much your mortality is looming. You have a choice to make.
Yeah. And he's very. The thing is, I just said all that about him being so wholesome and everything else, but he's really professional about it.
Yeah.
Like he's like. It's like have you ever met an accountant who's actually excited about their job? It's just like, really? I don't think so. But somehow,
Yeah. So, anything you want to say about Mephistopheles, Scummer?
No, nothing really that hasn't already been covered by Noodle. Just a classic. This is just a great villain, sort of for the bit, but just a great villain for this piece. Absolutely.
And I'm claiming dibs on hashtag pet the devil.
Yeah.
And so now we come to the track that I named this stream after, because I very much view it as the narrative crux of the tale.
Yeah.
Where Beethoven is pondering over his choice. And so we come to what is eternal. And
this is what I mean by this is his dark night of the soul. This really is his moment of make or break. What kind of a man are you?
Yeah.
Who are you and what do you value and what are your priorities? And there's one image that's drawn out quite early on in the track that I want to draw attention to.
Okay.
It's in the second verse. It goes, "Man or the moment, the act or the reason. These thoughts fill my head as I contemplate treason."
Yeah.
Now, this to me says everything about how Beethoven feels about his music.
Yeah.
His music is his identity. His music is his nationality.
Mm.
We're talking about a man who lives in a time where it's perfectly reasonable to expect him to lay down and die for his country when called upon. And he's saying, I will do this for my music.
And because what he's contemplating treason to is dreams he has had and dreams he has pondered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's essentially saying, I have spent my entire life creating an identity to myself, and I am being offered the opportunity to avoid hell if I give that up. And is it worth it?
Yeah.
Mm.
It's a very deep philosophical question.
Yeah.
You know, how far would you go to protect yourself? How far would you go to avoid pain and suffering? You know, historically, during genocides, invasions, people face this question of when the enemy is in your face and telling you, renounce your country, renounce your God, renounce your whatever it is.
Yeah.
What do you say?
And the question is, what is the soul if not the product of your dreams? Because there's another great stanza, you know, and what good is the life that leaves nothing behind, not a thought or a dream that might echo in time?
Exactly. He's thinking about his legacy. And this is why, and how I mentioned memento mori earlier. Yeah. That entire concept is utterly what's the word I'm looking for? Contemporary to Beethoven, the historical figure. Yeah. It's right there in sort of that. Is it Renaissance? I think Renaissance is a bit later.
I think Beethoven was during the Enlightenment.
Enlightenment, yeah. So during the Enlightenment, there was a great push towards this Stoic concept I mentioned of memento mori, which means that remember, one day you must die. All men must die.
Yeah.
Remember death. However you want to translate it, what it essentially says is it's an instruction. It's a philosophical instruction that says, treat every day like it's your last and live accordingly.
Yeah.
And Beethoven has that in spades in this album. His character has that in spades.
And the pain in his voice that you can hear at the end of the song as he contemplates the fact that everything, like if he saves his soul, everything he worked for could be lost.
Yeah. And this is, again, it's that he's weighing up his options, his priorities. Yeah. What matters more to him? His life or his soul? Which is he willing to give up? Because that's essentially what we're saying. This is why the devil wants to destroy his music. He wants to destroy his soul. This is what that is a literal, that's what that's talking about.
Yeah.
Is he going to allow that to happen for what? And why? Is what's he giving up and what's he gaining for this, and is it worth it? And you went through the overview earlier, so he's decided it's not worth his changing his life to lose his soul. It's not worth not going to hell.
Yeah.
It's not worth saving himself from an eternity of agony. What it is worth is the life of one little child.
And this is where we enter into the second act of the opera, where he's wondering what has he done to earn damnation.
Yeah.
And fate is taking him through his life to see if he'd undo anything about it. Where we have the moment where he is confronted with him as a child.
Yeah.
This is
a bit where he's just been. This is just a bit where he's just been scolded for like receiving, failing to receive the appointment to the royal court.
Yeah, so as a child, he would have been presented to the royalty for their opinion, essentially.
Yeah.
If he was invited to court, it would have been a social boon. It would have led to a good marriage, possibly a royal appointment. It would have been a good life for him, and his parents, his tutor, are all basically pissed off that I didn't get the attention. So he'd go there and do that. And they think he's ruined his life, which is kind of a lot to put on a child of 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah.
But
7, but his father lied and said he was 6.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to push Beethoven up as another Mozart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a prodigy.
Yeah.
And this moment is heartbreaking because he clearly tried, he clearly wanted it, but it became that moment was more used to him in the way that it played out than it would have been if it had have changed. And this is the thing with Beethoven throughout this album. The guy is capable of looking objectively at his own life and of self-reflection.
And at first Beethoven wants to erase this.
Yeah.
But then fate steps in and says no. And says, are you sure? Because if we erase this, we erase your 6th.
Yeah. The inspiration for the 6th Symphony is gone if we erase this. Yeah. And Beethoven's obviously he's like, no, I can't erase the inspiration for this piece of music.
Yeah. Because that is because that piece of music essentially he would have it's based around his experience of sort of the rural areas around Vienna.
Yeah.
And he would have never had the opportunity to visit those areas had he ended up at court.
Yeah.
So it's very much historically that is a point to be made. Just to put that out there. And
speaking of Vienna, we jump forward slightly in time to view Beethoven's first experience of coming into Vienna.
Yeah.
And
it's everything you'd expect, I think.
Yeah.
It's the it's the boy coming into his own kind of this is your rite of passage moment.
And this song very much like captures the feel of small town person visiting a big city for the first time.
Yeah, it's very it's not quite Annie, it's what is it?
Yeah.
It's I don't want to say it's Oliver Twist because it's not. But you're right, it's very much the bright lights of the city and the sort of very stereotypical New York, London.
You get that initial like, wow, you're overwhelmed and everything's very exciting, and then
reality sets in.
Yeah.
It's the big city. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Which appears in quite a lot of stories because it's a classic trope for a reason.
Yeah. And then we go into Mozart. And
Figaro.
Yep.
Which is an interesting choice.
Yeah.
Do you know the plot of Figaro?
No.
Basically, I'm trying to think about this. So basically, you've got Figaro, who is about to get married, and the Count, who appeared in a previous story, the Barber of Seville, is trying to exercise his droit de seigneur. I'm glad you know what that means, and I don't have to translate it. And so keeps finding excuses to delay the wedding until that happens. So they basically conspire to embarrass him. He compels Figaro to legally marry a woman old enough to be his mother. It turns out at the last minute she really is his mother. And through some manipulations from Figaro and Susanna, the Count falls back in love with his wife.
Yeah.
It's a really weird plot.
But yeah, this is, Beethoven meeting Mozart, which, really did happen historically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoy, this is one of the things I just enjoyed in this album, was this rocky version of The Marriage of Figaro.
Yeah.
And I wasn't expecting this necessarily when I listened to it. I was expecting a lot of Beethoven mixed in. I wasn't expecting any Mozart mixed into this with a just almost a great little instrumental rocky bit to put in there as a little bit of Mozart, and I was quite impressed with that.
And that's the thing about the second act is you'll have a song with lyrics, and then you'll have an instrumental.
Yeah. I think as well, this entire album likes to draw these nice, neat little literary parallels between Beethoven and Mozart.
Yeah.
And I am certain now, I am utterly certain, although I'm sure because Scummer probably has a track list up, there is a track coming up that's got another famous composer on it.
Yes.
So which I wasn't sure about, but I knew I recognized it.
Yeah, so and of course the next is Beethoven meeting Teresa with I'll Keep Your Seat, or Dreams of Candlelight, sorry.
Yeah, Dreams of Candlelight. And this is the one I'm almost certain, correct me if I'm wrong or clarify if I'm right, this is the one I could have sworn I heard Chopin in there, but don't ask me which track. Don't ask me the title track. But I know I heard elements of another composer in there. I'm pretty sure it was Chopin.
Yes, there is. There's elements of Chopin's 68 in there.
Again, I don't learn the names of classical songs.
Yeah.
I vaguely know who the composer is.
I am not as much of a classical buff as I try to make out that I am, honestly. I'm kind of like the same. I was like, I listened to like the old William Tell overture for years and thought that is the Lone Ranger theme.
Oh God! That shows up in this as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think so, but not that I remember.
What's the joy? Yeah, it does.
What, the William Tell overture? I don't recall it showing up.
And then we go into Requiem, or the Fifth. It's basically their cover of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, any comments on that?
I see. My problem is right now. I like Beethoven, but I can't remember which symphony is which.
Okay, hold on.
I think the fifth is dun 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 dun.
Hold on. Yeah.
Dun 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 dun.
Well, do you know what? Okay. Quick question for you, Nude. Do you know what Beethoven's favorite fruit was? Banana. Banana.
Yes, it is. Beethoven's fifth is definitely it's it's the one that sounds like
it's got it's the most it's probably like the most famous few bars of classical music that
it's
just
the
that opening
music.
Yeah,
you've just fallen off the cliff. The camera's coming down and it's circling.
Music.
Yeah, it's one of those pieces of music that most people don't know what comes after those opening bars. But yeah,
but so yeah, the
very
the next three. So Requiem the fifth, and the next two songs are. So we have three songs dedicated to Beethoven going deaf.
Yeah.
So starting with Requiem the fifth.
Yeah.
Going into I'll Keep Your Secrets, which is Teresa not knowing why Beethoven's broken up with her because he's going deaf. And then with breaking the pattern for the lyrics, instrumental lyrics of the second, act, we have we go into the dark, where the muses, which is the muses singing to Beethoven, because now that he is deaf and can no longer focus on performances, he can actually pay attention to his composing and actually hear what the muses are singing to him.
Yeah. So what he's learned is that his deafness was a prerequisite for his genius.
Yeah.
So again, it's one of those moments where was it worth it? Obviously, he decides his music was worth it because his music is everything to him.
Yeah, and the dark, the dark, which is probably it's hard to pick. It's hard for me to pick a favorite track on this album, but the dark is up there.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the dark.
Yeah,
I mean, I got to probably some of my favorite tracks on there are some of the instrumentals of classical pieces of music, but
yeah, I mean, I will say because Fur Elise is going to follow.
Yeah,
that song is heartbreaking. Anyway,
yeah,
but in this album, dropped right there.
Yeah,
it makes no sense to the rest of the album because it's not Beethoven.
Actually, Fur Elise is Beethoven.
Fur Elise is Beethoven, yeah.
Yeah, it's
minor
like it's actually one of the first ones he wrote after going deaf.
I could have sworn it was. Oh, am I getting it confused with the person who discovered it? Hang on.
Yeah.
Could have sworn it was a guy by the name of Noel. Yeah, of course. Yeah, sorry, my mistake.
It's a famous piano. It's a famous piano piece with Beethoven.
Yeah. So it wasn't discovered until a lot later when he composed it. And it's a heartbreaking moment, and you can see why with the Teresa plot and with the deafness plot, someone would compose something like that.
Yeah.
Because it just. Do you know how many music boxes I've had over the years with Fur Elise in it?
Yeah.
And there's some people have put some lyrics to it, and there's some really gorgeous lyrics to it out there. There was one in particular, My True Love Shall Be My Last.
This is the unfortunately though the sad, the sad universal law of classical music pieces is that for every one time beautiful lyrics are put to it, there's at least 3 football chants.
Don't get me started.
Yeah.
Do not get me started.
Well, instead of getting started, we'll move on to After the Fall.
Yeah. But yeah, pretty sure Furley's was written for Teresa.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, Teresa gets one last song about, why, like, how she wouldn't have cared.
Yeah, and using a Mozart piece. Is an interesting choice here.
Also, I'm betting like the last section of this song is where you got the real Bonnie Tyler vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Proper Bonnie Tyler. I think I said she's got a really strong voice. There's a lot of Bonnie Tyler in there and a touch of Susie Quattro in the high notes.
Yeah.
This track was utterly an amazing showcase for that singer's voice.
Yeah.
There are not many singers who can sing and sound like they're whispering and yet fill the sound.
Yep.
She is... I do not have the technical language.
Yeah.
I do not have the language full stop to emphasize enough how much I fell in love with this woman's voice.
Yeah.
In this track. Like, this is... I have looked up at the stars at night. I have walked into cathedrals and not felt a sense of awe like that. And that was back when I was a devout Catholic. I didn't have a sense of awe like that. Her voice is just utterly magnificent.
Yeah.
And I can very much see why, because I have a theory, although I'm not certain. I think she's the singer from I Would Do Anything for Love by Meatloaf. I think she's the singer in which Bonnie Tyler appeared in the video but mimed it because she couldn't hit the notes and didn't have the same power.
Yeah, Patty Russo, yeah.
Yeah, Patty Russo is Teresa.
Yeah, I will put money on it being her. That's the same voice. And when you've got a voice that Bonnie Tyler holds her hands up and says, I can't match that, you've got a hell of a sound.
Yeah.
And I just, I just, wow. I'm fangirling. Go on quick before I let my brain explode.
So we move into the last illusion where
I love this. Sorry. Yeah, go on, Ring.
Yeah, where fate shows Beethoven, where fate shows Beethoven the result of his music, and where all the people that will get comfort from his music, all the people who will get inspiration from his music, just as he got inspiration from Mozart. And it basically, in the liner notes, leads to Beethoven and Mozart and all these other, artists jamming together.
Yeah, it's very Ghost of Future.
Yeah.
I just did a little bit of Googling, by the way. Patty Russo, unfortunately, was not the woman on I Would Do Anything for Love. There was someone else.
Is it? Am I even thinking of I Would Do Anything for Love? The video where
I know the one you're thinking of. Yeah, I know exactly the one you're talking about.
It's not I Would Do Anything for Love, is it? Is it Bat Out of Hell? No.
No. I know what you're thinking of.
When she's up on the...
She sound, but I will say Patty Russo. It's Lorraine somebody. I forget the second bit, but it wasn't Patty
Lorraine...
Russo. Yeah.
It's that kind of voice. Like you can tell if you listen to Patty Russo and you listen to Lorraine. Where's her name gone?
I forget.
He was there. He had these two singers who were both like so far above the bar they couldn't see it for looking down.
Yeah.
And these were his two major. You know, if he wanted to do a duet with someone, it was one of these two he went to.
Yeah.
And it is very much the power of them. Like, both of them have sung where Bonnie Tyler is fronted in the video.
Yeah.
Or another model is fronted in the video because they can't make the sound, but he wanted the sound as well.
And
and it just, when you're at the point where someone like Bonnie Tyler is saying, you know, when you've got Bonnie Tyler, Dolly Parton, Susie Quattro, all these voices saying, we can't match that.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a sound.
That's
a gift from whatever God you believe in.
I was going to say, because one song was it Last Illusion now, and obviously there was the Korosakov piece, The Flight of the Bumblebee.
Yeah.
Which, you know, that like really.
Yeah, the Flight of the Bumblebee played on electric guitar.
Yeah, which is just fantastic.
I've got to say, a little weird thing with me. I always used to get the Flight of the Bumblebee and the Saber Dance mixed up for some reason. And both are excellent on electric guitar, by the way. Here's a little thing for after the stream. Go and check out a band called Love Sculpture and their version of the Saber Dance, which is absolutely amazing. But
I will point something out now. Personal anecdote time. Who does personal anecdotes? Gather around, children. When I was listening to this whole album, now I've mentioned on this channel before, I am a bit of an amateur musician. I play like various woodwind instruments and string instruments to various levels. I literally, throughout the whole album, every time Ode to Joy or we got a refrain of Ode to Joy, was sat there going like this. Yeah. And I didn't realize until this track that I was actually fingering the notes as you would play it on recorder. And I didn't realize what the track was. I was just like, I know this track.
It's like,
and it's a very simple tune to play on recorder. It's not even level 1. But it's just stuck there, and it's really telling. And again, like with Fur Elise, I was there because a bit of experience on the keyboard going, you know, along with her. And it's very interesting the way hearing these tracks brings the muscle memory back. And I think for anyone listening to it who's got a musical interest, however slight, you know, whether you play recorder as a kid or whatever, it will bring it back. And that to me is really clever because it almost makes you part of the decision he's making. Like as a musician, would you give up your soul? Would you give up your music? And I started really identifying with this character because I suddenly realized, no, if the devil came to me and said, we're going to take your music from you, I'd say, no, you're not having it.
And of course,
from my cold dead hands.
And of course, this, you know, leads into the next song where Beethoven makes his decision with "This is who you are."
Yeah, this is who I am. You cannot separate me from my music.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see.
Which is exactly what I basically just said.
Yeah. Hold on. Change one note, change one line. Nothing's going to be the same. Change one loss, change one cut. Everything is rearranged. Every act, cruel or kind, lost inside our memory. If you look there in time, you'll find it in, you'll find it in me.
Mm-hmm. In other words, my life may have been shit, but it gave me my music, and therefore you will pry it from my cold dead hands.
Yeah. And then we get into And I love that I love how this, I love the track list, the titles, because we get This Is Who You Are, and then we get Beethoven.
Yeah. The instrumental.
Yeah.
Which is just, yeah.
Yeah.
Gramsci's dad that's a hell of an ear.
Yeah.
I used to be able to do it a little bit with guitar and kind of with.
It's a bit like one of the most legendary blues guitarists of all time could not play a chord to save his life. That's B.B. King. And who would say, I cannot play like a basic chord C. I play notes. He could play notes so beautifully, though. He didn't need to play chords on guitar.
Yeah, that's what. But I don't claim to be on anywhere near the level of B.B. King, but that's what I'm like on guitar.
Yeah.
I can't play chords to save my life. I play melodies.
Yeah.
Usually 1 or 2 strings, 3 or 4 frets, and I'm done.
Or like, John Lennon never learned to read music.
Yeah, no. You learn to play by ear. You learn with what you've got.
Yeah.
And not everyone can afford to learn to read. Do you know how long it takes to learn to read music fluently? Yeah, you can sit and look at a diagram of FACE and every good boy deserves favour. But try and do that in the middle of a concert.
Yeah.
Just off the cuff, that's going to take you years to learn that pattern and to be able to read the timing notations and all the other notations that come along with music. It is just nuts. It's an entire language.
And by the way, yes, B.B. King was amazing. Yes, he is one of the all-time greats. But believe it or not, could not play a basic guitar chord, but he played notes so well he didn't need to.
Yeah, exactly. And this is another instrumental that has Mozart woven into Beethoven's music.
Yeah. Again, this is where I came from, but this is who I am. Yeah. And I think that's what I love about this as well. Beethoven never forgets his influences throughout this album. Like, he never forgets that he's influenced by Mozart. He never forgets Teresa.
And actually,
Which the real Beethoven was influenced by Mozart, though. So
And in the in the extra liner notes, extra detailed narrative, it is actually the ghost of Mozart that helps him decide. That helps him decide to keep the 10th, because it's like, this is your greatest work. You can't get you can't leave this to be destroyed.
Yeah. And this is the point of, look at everything Mozart did.
Yeah.
And it's almost, you kind of get the impression in the background, there's something in the back of Beethoven's mind, very much in the style of saying, what would Mozart do?
Yeah.
And it is that moment of, okay, but what would Mozart do?
Yeah. If I could see someone who's been there before me and traded his soul for a moment of glory.
Exactly. And it's what would Mozart do? And then the question becomes, what would Beethoven do?
Yeah.
So it's a very, very good character study, is this album.
And this track also has I don't know if you got it, but I very much got a preparing for battle, gearing up kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, the return of Mephistopheles and Misery feel like the battle to me.
Yeah. And of course, it's like you get that gearing, it's like you've made your decision, you're gearing for battle, and then we have Mephistopheles' return. Where we have a last bit of panic from Beethoven.
Yeah.
Where he's frantically asking Twist, is there really an afterlife? Am I really damned?
But I think the whole point of this album, of this narrative, is that he has to make the decision without knowing.
Yeah.
Not because he has to put his faith in God or fate or anything else like that. This is his hero's journey.
Yeah.
And the part of the hero's journey is making the sacrifice.
Yeah. It is his impact on, is his impact on history worth his soul?
But not the soul Mephistopheles wants, the soul that couldn't sleep at night knowing he'd allowed a child to be damned.
Yeah.
That's what he's been asking. The whole Mephistopheles thing really is irrelevant. What's relevant here is a man who has the opportunity to help a strange child. Yeah. Does he do it or does he walk away? And what kind of a man does it make him, depending on the decision he makes?
Well, and you've kind of jumped ahead, because that's where we're getting into when we get into Misery.
Yeah.
Mephistopheles' return is Beethoven saying no.
Yeah.
You can't have the 10th. And then Misery is look outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, it's Mephistopheles playing his final card, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's doing something. And this is the test. Is Beethoven a good man or not?
Yeah.
What is he willing to sacrifice for the good of an innocent child?
Yeah.
And this is what I mean by it's almost a messianic narration.
And so, after we get a really, really dark and nasty description of what Mephistopheles will do to this child.
Yeah, trigger warning for that track, folks.
Yeah. We get into Beethoven weighing whether his music is worth helping this child or not. And we get a bit of a call to action.
Yeah, and it's a great good debate going on.
Yeah.
Is all the joy and happiness and inspiration my music's going to give for centuries worth this one child?
Yeah.
And the thing is, the decision he takes, spoiler alert, is not, he makes the unselfish decision. Yeah. He makes the decision that says, no, humanity matters, the human being in front of me matters more.
Life matters more.
I don't have to change the world, but if I change the world for one person, that's enough.
Yeah.
And he has to let go of his pride. Because it's his pride and his ego that's stopping him doing this, let's be honest.
Yeah, can you see it in the night? Can you feel it in the air? It's the arcing of a life, and it's hanging in the air. Though I try to close my eyes and pretend that I don't know, in my heart, I just can't let it go.
Exactly. He can't. It's his debate is your pride or your humanity is what's going on here.
Yeah.
And he's the hero, so obviously he picks his humanity and he saves the little girl.
Yeah.
But it's not an easy decision.
Yeah.
And it's something he has to struggle with as part of the narrative, and it's done very well.
Yeah.
And you're rooting for him to make that decision. Like, the utter loss of his music throughout history, and you're still rooting for him to save the child.
Yeah.
Because the life of the child is worth more than any music.
But, though in this point of the narrative, Mephistopheles only wants the 10th.
Yeah.
The fictional 10th.
Yeah. So his soul's okay. His music will carry on, but the 10th is his soul. The 10th has become this placeholder for his soul.
Yeah.
Is it worth it? Is he willing to run into a fire to save a child? Is the question being asked here, quite literally.
Yeah, and he decides to sign over the 10th, which might as well be his soul, to save this child.
Yeah. Which he struggles with it. He can't bring himself to do it. Someone else has to write up the contract. But he genuinely believes he signs in good faith.
Yeah.
And then he finds out that let's be honest, it was all a test.
Yeah.
And the way fate got him out of him, it is quite something. It's very tricksy. I want fate as my lawyer, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, this little, the way it's written of, well, it could have been a mistake, but we made an assumption, but then it's not, so it doesn't hold.
Yeah.
And so he gets to keep the music he's already written. The little girl is safe because he signed the contract in good faith.
Yeah.
Someone who's already dead and is done has been claimed by Mephistopheles, but Mephistopheles doesn't seem to do anything with that because he gets so annoyed he just storms out.
Well, the thing is, yeah, he storms out, and then we learn that Mephistopheles never actually had a claim on Beethoven's soul.
Yeah. So again, it's all an elaborate ruse, an elaborate trick.
Yeah.
Mephistopheles is trying to claim that which he doesn't own.
Yeah.
And in very simple terms, Beethoven passed.
Yeah, and Beethoven passes in the arms of fate as she sings him into paradise in a final dream.
I cried. I cried.
Yeah.
This track is so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so utterly beautiful. And I cannot, even if you don't listen to any other part of this album, please listen to that track.
Yeah.
It is so... It's another track that I don't have the words for this. It's... You hear half a dozen songs in your life that stay with you.
Yeah.
And that really speak to a moment or a feeling or something in your life.
Yeah.
And this track just, even if you're not religious, this track really speaks to that. It soothes that fear of death and of dying and of darkness. It is a lullaby in the truest sense of the word.
Yeah.
And it soothes that fear of the unknown, regardless of whether however you view that. And I'm waxing lyrical and being all mawkish, philosophical.
Yeah.
But just listen to it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Well, and that's kind of the thing about Trans-Siberian Orchestra in their work. This is more attached to Misery, who is this child. But they do like to put in helpless innocence, helpless innocence represented by children into their albums. Or not necessarily, children, because in the Ornament saga of Christmas Eve and other stories, the daughter is, old enough to book a flight for herself and, walk into a bar. So
she's 18 minimum.
Yeah.
16 in some countries, but 18 probably.
Yeah.
21 if she's in America.
Yeah. So, but, and also, yeah, I'm sorry I gave you feels.
It's okay. When I get to America, you can give me cuddles to make up for it.
Yeah.
But this whole album just gave me I genuinely don't have anything more coherent to add. because this album is so mind-blowing, I can't form anything coherent to explain how good it is.
Yeah.
I feel dirty just using the word good in the same sentence as this album. Like, it's better than that.
I regard it as the greatest rock opera I have heard.
Oh no, I don't regard it that way. I know it is.
Yeah.
You've seen my reactions to some of the other stuff, and this is just, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the closest I've come in a long time to a religious experience. Let's put it that way.
And
in the Christian sense of the awe and wonder.
But like there's a reason that I paired this with 2112 is because they both try to explore the place of music in society from different angles.
Yeah.
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 And
yeah, I listened to this the first time this morning. I never heard this album.
Yeah.
And it's a rock operas go. I mean, really, this is rock operas month, and I think you saved the best to last, really.
Yeah.
With this. This is just is close to perfect as a rock opera gets, really.
Yeah. Well, and actually,
close to perfect as an album gets, full stop.
Well, here's the thing. The whole reason there was a rock opera month was just so I could talk about Beethoven's Last Night.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah. But the fact that it's good to have some context going into what obviously previous rock operas. I mean, we had to talk about Tommy, for all its problems, it was
it was the groundbreaker.
It was the groundbreaker for this kind of genre. And Rush's 21. I love Rush. I mean, but it's a bit of an out there kind of plot to it, I suppose. But but this is just like a really good coherent theme going for this that you can. It's easy to just get this, and the fact that this could sell rock fans on classical music as well. This album is just perfect in that respect,
and it's in my opinion, it is criminally underknown. Like it is criminally underpaid because underplayed because. Like whenever someone says Trans-Siberian Orchestra, you think of their Christmas stuff. And granted, they do a lot of Christmas stuff. Like 80 to 90%. Yeah, 80 to 90% of their discography is Christmas albums. In fact, aside from Beethoven's Last Night, the only other album that I did that wasn't Christmas was Night Castle, which I still want. Yeah, because that's another very classically informed album. Like they do a cover of In the Hall of the Mountain King.
Yeah. And I will say as well, it's quite obvious that they are very, very classically informed.
Yeah.
Which again, piece of great classic music that most people. Well, you just mentioned that piece of great classic music which you just mentioned there, Ring. Most people be like, "Huh?" when you mention that piece of music, but if they heard it,
yeah. Dun 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 dun. dun, dun.
And then keep going faster and faster and faster until you go. I actually knew a covers band who in my area who are almost local legends as covers bands, and they used to do a version of Deep Purple's song "Burn," and and they do a little breakdown in the song where you go to Hall of the Mountain King on like a real heavy metal guitar solo. So it would just stop and there'd be a little drum beat going, and then just keep and build up.
You know what? I'm gonna say this. Do you know what we need? Someone needs to invent an app or a website or some shit that you can go to and type in classical song that goes dun dun dun, and it gives you a list.
Yeah. see, the closest thing you got to it is like Shazam, but you have to actually listen to the piece of music you're looking for to actually find the tune of it. But
no, I genuinely want one that is just like, you go to it and you type in dun 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 dun, and it brings it up.
And you like, Beethoven's Fifth, you know.
Yeah.
Or you can like record your voice singing it, and it brings it back to you. Hey, Ox.
Yeah.
Hi, Ox.
Hello, Ox.
But that's my takeaway from this.
But so
changing for classical music.
Yeah, so
everyone's coming in late. Robert X is coming now, is it?
Yeah.
Everyone's coming in late.
I guess I'll have to thank everyone on Twitter and on my Patreon who voted that you'd rather hear Tommy and Hero first, because that let us end on a high note.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So that was good.
Yeah.
And it's nice in a way, because it's sort of, I feel like I appreciate these last couple of ones more because I heard the bad ones first. The bad ones. Because I've kind of seen the growth of the genre.
Yeah.
So it was a good way of doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the way I structured it was was pair a classic with a modern counterpoint. So Tommy and Hero, and then 2112 and Beethoven's Last Night. But I wasn't sure which pairing would go first. So thank you, Twitter. You chose wisely.
It was definitely I think this was definitely the right way to end this month, for the rock opera month, I feel, because I really feel it was saving the best for last. And I'm saying that as someone who loved Rush, and I was a bit gutted that I was feeling bad that day and couldn't get onto that stream and talk about 2112, but this really is saving the best for last.
Yeah.
I think that's everything, isn't it? I think that's a nice point to end on.
I think we've done a good.
So if you haven't heard Beethoven's Last Night by Trans-Siberian Orchestra, listen to it. It's on Spotify.
Yes.
And or if you go Spotify, all of the tracks are on playlists on YouTube, which is how I listen to it. So just listen to it, guys. Seriously, Beethoven's Last Night is really good.
Go buy a cassette tape and an old cassette player if you must.
Yeah, I ran into this on a music drive while I was in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
That was my first exposure to this album. And I've been fanatically in love with it ever since.
Yeah. I will agree, it has shot up my list of favourite albums of all time.
Yeah.
Like, it's up there with sort of Rumours, Bad Out of Hell. Like, it's up there in that circle of, songs I made, like, Bon Jovi, a couple of Bon Jovi albums in there, and, songs I may want playing at my funeral.
Yeah, it's... It's the best of its genre and among the best of all time. And maybe I will, depending on who goes first, I may end up having them play A Final Dream at your funeral.
I may not come back and haunt you if you do that.
Yeah.
I'll just say, with any more bad puns ring, I know who's going first.
Yes, this is also a consideration. Unfortunately, I don't have control over this stream.
Yeah. Well,
but yeah.
So with
you playing the long game, no Noodle. So you know.
Yeah. So with that, I guess we'll go into shilling / deciding what's going to happen next week, because this is a blank slate month.
Okay.
Let me see what films I've got. I've caught up on it recently.
Probably don't want to do anything superhero-y because the entirety of next month is MCU.
Yeah.
The marvelous month of May is coming.
Yes.
So,
it is Autism Acceptance Month.
Yes.
So I have 2 films to suggest.
Okay.
Classic, I'm going to say Rain Man. It's not a great representation, but it is an important film for autism acceptance and autism awareness.
Oh.
I'd also, if we can, like to watch Adam, which is a film about an autistic young man starring Hugh Dancy that was released in the early 2000s-ish.
Never heard of it.
Never have I.
It's a good film. It's a little bit bittersweet. It's a little bit cutesy. It was billed as a rom-com, but it's Hugh Dancy, and that guy could be in a war film and it'd be billed as a rom-com. Let's be honest. I'm pretty sure Shooting Dogs was.
When's Pride Month again? Because that's a couple of months' time.
June.
Okay. Well, we'll save it for then. But I do want to do the film Pride at some point.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, June is gonna be all LGBT.
Okay. Well, there you go. Well, there's one film for that. So.
But yeah, Adam's a sweet story, and it's got an interesting ending that I quite like, with some quite philosophical conversations to be had. Rain Man is obviously the original autism film.
I think Rain Man would be a good. Maybe we should do both. Should we say Rain Man next week and then Adam the following? What do you think?
Yeah.
That could work. Yeah. That's probably the better way around to do it, because Rain Man has its issues.
Yeah.
We know Rain Man has its issues, and we're going to spend a lot of time criticizing.
Yeah.
And that's not to say Adam is perfect, but a lot more research and a lot more attempts to understand were made.
So, and
it's not 2019. It's not that.
And I have an idea for how to end the month, but I'll need to discuss with Noodle and Scummer out before announcing it. So next week, Rain Man.
Next week, Rain
Man. Rain Man next week, and then Adam, and then we'll find something, and whatever rings about to drop on us once we get off the stream.
Anyone who's looking in the chat, Sam, I don't know what Adam you're talking about. 2019. The Adam I'm talking about is a 2009 film. Starring Hugh Dancy, Rose Byrne.
To be fair, Sam may have made 2009. It might be a typo. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
So
but just in case anyone goes looking for it to watch it ahead, don't go looking for a 2019 film. You won't find it.
Yeah. Sam, just give Sam a chance to qualify that one.
No, it's fine. I'm not having a go. I'm just saying, just in case anyone goes looking. That's all.
But so as always, Secular D&D on Saturday next week. And next week, Rain Man on Media Musings.
Yeah. All being well, Death Stranding tomorrow night. Asterix on... I will let you finish that sentence.
When I get... Okay. So, definitely next week on my channel, Noodle and I are going to recommence the Asterix streams. It'll be 1 p.m. UK time. So I think it's about 8 a.m. Eastern in the US. So kind of early for a lot of the Americans, I know. But we're going to be getting into we're getting into the end game of our Asterix streams now. We're getting into a final era of the post Goscinny and Uderzo era, and the first one's going to be Asterix and the Picts. So we're going to Scotland.
Scotland. Yeah, I can't do it either.
Scotland.
Okay.
Yeah.
Try for Yorkshire.
Yeah.
Stop off in Jamaica.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Let's try to get Scotland, and we could get pished on stream,
Yeah. So tagline, Noodle.
Take care, be good, and if you can't be good, remember, use your noodle.
No, I don't really have a tagline, but I'll just say thanks everyone for watching. And by the way, Ring is now 21 subscribers short of the 200 mark. Can you please like, share, subscribe, do what you gotta do?
There is a slight there is a slight correction.
Oh.
Let's see. Chrome tab.
So you're up to
zoom in a little bit. Hold on.
So we've got 20 to go.
You're up to
20 to go.
20 to go. Can we get Ring 20 subscribers? Guys, do what you gotta do. Like, share this, subscribe if you're not already. You just get Ring to 200 now. It is criminally under Ring. The fact that Ring is not at 200 already is criminal. Let's get Ring to 200. Come on, guys. I believe in you. I believe in you. Let's spread the good word of Ring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's spread the good word of the puppy god.
Yeah. The puppy deity. So with that, let's go to oh wait, we already did. So we'll finish it off with, remember, indoctrination is a hell of a selfie stick, so don't choke on it.
That's what they say.